النفس الذي تهوى فقلت له.
Okay, welcome everyone to this new video. It's been a while since I've uploaded my last video about the first meditation of Descartes. It's been almost 8 months. I've recently decided to pick this up and to make more videos, shorter videos, but more videos and more consistently. And today we will discuss the first 2 or 3, depends on the time I'm taking, the first and the 3, let's say, chapters of Ibn Farabi's book. It's called the Kitaab al-Huroof. But first of all, who is Al-Farabi? Al-Farabi, known with the full name Muhammad ibn Tharkan ibn Awzalagh Al-Farabi, was a Muslim philosopher. He was the greatest commentator on Aristotle. He explained his ideas and he built further on it and interpreted Islam and the Islamic rulings and the Islamic theology in a certain sense with an Aristotelian scope. While critics would say that he had his own thoughts beside the Aristotelian thought, but he himself was mainly influenced by Aristotle. He was regarded as one of the greatest philosophical authorities in the Islamic world in the medieval time. He has also influenced Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, who comes after him. He's influenced him in various remarkable ways. We will discuss one of it in the first chapter of his book. He's born in Turkestan, died in Damascus, and we know very little from his time in Central Asia, but we know a lot when he moved to Baghdad. Most of his works were also written in Baghdad, and he never worked in any way for a certain government, or he never worked in any way for a certain administration. Also a good thing to know, because some of these philosophers, like Ibn Rushd, has been a judge for the government, and this could mainly possibly influence the way he writes, thinks, and holds back at sometimes. But Al-Farabi was mainly known of the heritage of the Arabic Aristotelian teachings of 10th century in Baghdad. And his greatest service to the Islamic religion, or his greatest achievement, is that he proved that he could answer some questions which the Muslims struggled with Greek philosophy. And to Al-Farabi, philosophy had come to an end in other parts of the world, but it had a chance for new life in Islam. Islam as a religion, however, was of itself not sufficient for the needs of a philosopher. He thought so. He himself thought that human reason was superior to revelation. He knew, or he thought, better to be said, that a philosopher could reach the same truths more clearly than the revelation. He notes that most of the people that the Quran, the Islamic text, and the Hadith contains a lot of metaphors, because the plebs, normal population who doesn't hold himself busy with, who doesn't keep himself busy with philosophy, could never understand these facts. If we would go into simple hardcore theology, Farabi is one of the first, or he sets the ground for the thought of that the afterlife is not a real place but a psychological experience, which Avicenna and Ibn Rushd further built upon his idea. or that some teachings, some rules are just for the time and are not eternally made. These thoughts that Farabi had, he said the normal people could not understand this. So God sent some certain truths like do good, don't be bad, or else you burn. He gave metaphors to the population because or else they would not understand it. And thus he held the position that human reason was always to be superior to revelation. And if the human reason ought to clash with revelation, the human reason should interpret the verse in a different way. But if that is not possible, then the reason has a superior hand above the revelation. So, conclusion for Al-Farabi, religion provided truth in a symbolic form to non-philosophers who were not able to apprehend it in its purest forms. But major part of Al-Farabi's writings were directed to the problem of the correct ordering of the state. Just as God rules the universe, so should the philosopher, as the most perfect kind of man, rule the state. So he was a lot of busy with politics. But the work we're going to discuss today has, quite frankly, nothing to do with politics at all. And it is the kitaab al-huroof, which is known as the Book of Letters. This contains, well, I'm not even going to spoil it. We will see what it contains. Let's dive into it. I have the Arabic version here next to me, as you can see in front of me. And we will together read some parts from the Arabic. I'll translate it and we will discuss what Farabi was trying to tell us. So, الفصل الأول, the first chapter. حرف إن, the particle إن. حرف means literally a letter, but as you can see there are two letters, so the meaning changes from letter to particle. أما بعد, as for what follows, فإن معنيا أن الثبات. So, the meaning of inna is stability. ثبات comes from the word ثابت, means firm and holding. والدوام, permanence. والكمال, and perfection. والوثاقة في وجود, and it means firmness in existence. So, وفي علم باشي, وفي علم بشيء, I'm sorry, بشيء. So, what he says here is what the word inna means in Arabic. And inna is used in the Arabic language as the first thing, as the first word in a sentence when we want to express, as Farabi says here, stability, permanence, perfection, firmness in existence or in the knowledge of a thing. So I'll give an example from the Quran then, or let's say not from the Quran. I will just make one up. Inna Allah qadirun. Indeed, God is powerful. Or I'll say Inna hiya jamilatan. So this means indeed she is beautiful. So inna means in the English language like indeed, for, indeed, for, it certainly is, certainly. You can also use certainly she is beautiful. So it points out a stability, permanence, perfection, firmness in existence and in the knowledge of the thing. Okay. وموضوع إن وأن في جميع اللسانة بين. So he says the use of inna and anna. Anna is another form of inna, but it is less used in the beginning of the sentence. It is used in the middle of the sentence, but that is not important to us now because we're discussing inna right now, and that's where our point will be in a few. That's what we will discuss in a few. So he says the usage وموضوعا inna, dus the usage of inna is certain, is evident, بين, is clear in all languages. وهو في فرسية, and in the Persian it is the kaf with a kasra. A kasra is like a line we put on a letter, and it determines how we pronounce it. If we say ka, ki, or ku, the kasra makes it a ki. And he says, and sometimes وكاف مفتوحة, so it is like a kaf which gives a fatha, so it is more like a ka. Okay, and so in short, this means what it says here is in Persian this is expressed with a k sound that sometimes has a kasra and sometimes a fatha. So what in the Arabic language is the inna, which expresses as we know stability, permanence, perfection, firmness in existence. For the Persian language it is the ka. And he says وأظهر من ذلك, and more apparent than that, في اليونانية, and in the Greek language, he says there is the un and the un, the on and the un. I don't know if I can write here, but what he means is what the Greek language, like we have the on and the un. The Greeks use this also in the beginning of the sentence sometimes to make sure that a thing is, as we said, and I'll make sure you don't forget this, that the meaning of it is stability, permanence, perfection, firmness in existence and in the knowledge of the thing. So the on and the un. And he says, and he makes another side note, and he says الثانية أشدا تأكيدا. So he says like تأكيدا, and he says like the second one is more emphatic, but that's not really important. فإنه دليل على الأكمل وأثبات وأدوم. And he says like والأدوام, sorry, and he says like for it's an indication of the most perfect, على الأكمل, comes from كامل, the most perfect, وأثبات, and the most stable, and وأدوام, and it's like the most enduring, which he means God. He means God. So this one, the un, he says it's used for gods, and this one is used for normal stuff. فلذلك, and he says here also فلذلك, and for this reason, يسمون الله بأون. So and they يسمون like and they how do you say that? I forgot what I wanted to say. يسمون is more like, and they spoke of it. When they use the word, they mean like God. That's what it tries to say. There is un, as you can see here with the wow, it makes it longer. So, and he says وهم يخصون به الله, and they use extended own special, it's only for God. فإذا جعلوها لغير الله قالوها بأن مقصورة. So it's like a shortened un, this one. And he says like when they want to apply it to something else rather than God, they use the shorter one. But it is not important for our point, so you can skip this analysis of Farabi of the Greek language. ولذلك, and therefore, تسمي فلاسفة, the philosophers call الوجود كامل, inniya. So they say kamil here does not necessarily mean like the most perfect or the perfect existence. It's like a beautiful, good, real existence. And therefore the philosophers call a real existence al-wujud kamil. And when they have a when they have a good like the complete existence of something, they call it that it has a inniya of the thing, inniya shay'in. And he says وهو بعينه ماهية. And we will discuss this point, the difference between the inniya and the mahiya. And it is in itself its essence. There is, in most of the times, they are similar, they are both, the mahiya and the inniya. I will discuss these concepts in a few, but there are some differences between the two. ويقولون وما إنية الشيء. And they say, he means like the philosophers, وما إنية الشيء, what is the inniya of a meaning? يعنون, meaning, and their meaning, what do they mean? What is most complete mode of existence? ما وجوده الأكمل. And they're asking like, what is the best form of existence? And they say وهو ما هي. And he says like إلا في الإخبار فقط دون السواء. سؤال sorry, in سؤال. It's like not only in informing but in questioning as well. So in short, thus philosophers call perfect existence the inniya of a thing, which is in fact its very essence. They ask, what is the inniya of the thing? Meaning, what is the most perfect form of being? Its essence. And it's not just in statements that they use this, but in inquiry as well. Okay, let's break it down. So, let's talk about the inniya. Al-Farabi here is not just discussing grammar. He's not saying the inniya is like it only has this meaning and do whatever you want. He wants to say something more of that. He says the Arabic particle inna implies more than just emphasis. It carries the weight of metaphysical affirmation, firmness, stability, permanence, perfection, all qualities associated with true existence. Okay, I'll dive more deep into this. Okay, we said inniya, he says it's the affirmation of that something truly is. وما إنية شيء, no, what did it say? It said like وجود الكمالة. It's like the true existence, that it truly exists. Okay, what do we mean by that? If I say a unicorn is a horse with a horn, and we will now come to the point of mahiya. I described its mahiya. Mahiya. And the mahiya, it's a question in Arabic. Mahiya literally means what is it, what is she. So I have to describe something. So when I say a unicorn is a horse with a horn, I described what the unicorn is. But I have never said if such thing exists or not. And that's where the inniya comes in. Because if I say, and this unicorn, which I described, actually exists in reality, or truly exists in reality, then I've affirmed the inniya to it. But we have another category for things. So when we have a shay in Arabic is a shay, it's something, we can divide it in 3 points. We have the inniya, which we have said now. We have the mahiya, and we have the wujud. Wujud just means existence. So if I say like a unicorn is a horse with a horn, I've given it a mahiya. And I can also give it a wujud, existence. But the existence of wujud doesn't literally mean the physical existence or the metaphysical existence. It could be imagination is also falls under the category of wujud. So if I say I have a little sister, she has blonde hair and she has brown eyes, she's 4 years old, she loves to play football, and she goes outside every day to play with her girlfriends. She exists in my mind and my speech. That's wujud. But she is not an inia because I don't really have a sister in real life. I have given her a mahi, I explained what she is. I give it a wujud as well. I said like, yeah, she exists in my speech, she exists in my imagination, but there is no inia. I can never say, truly, my sister loves to play outside. It's not possible in the philosophical world. So, mahia, what something is, inia, does something exist, and wujud is more of like the state or act of being. We can also give another example. A triangle's mahia is a figure with 3 sides and interior angles summing up to 100 degrees. Its inia is that this particle triangle actually exists, if it's drawn on your paper or something. Wujud is the general fact of being. It's like, yeah, it just exists, but it's not like you cannot point it out, something like that. I give another example, which makes it easier. A golden ring. The mahia, it's a circular band made of gold designed for wearing on a finger. Inia, this particular ring exists. It is here in front of you. Wujud, the general state of existing. Anything that is real participates in wujud. So you could say, with wujud, I would also add to it that we said the kamal al-wujud is for inia. So if it's like true and more perfect, then we say inia. So let's say if we have a golden ring. I have given you a description of what a golden ring is. It is a circular band made of gold designed for wearing on a finger. Let's say I find a golden ring which doesn't particularly match this description. It is a circular band, but partially made of gold and partially made of silver, designed for wearing on a finger. I could say a golden ring still exists in this place or somewhere else. I could say it exists in my mind, but it partially exists also in the thing that's in front of me. But I could never say inia because the existence of it and the physical, what we can observe in the physical world, does not match to the mahia we have given in the previous part. So, if we want an inia to it, if we want to ascribe an inia to it, we can, the matching must also correspond to the reality. The mahia must correspond to the reality in its full form. I give you another example where inia cannot be applied. Let's look at Sherlock Holmes. His mahia, what he is a brilliant detective living in London with extraordinary deduction skills. Does he have a wujud as a concept? Yeah, in our minds and books. Does he have an inia? No, because he does not actually exist. Holmes has a mahia. We can describe what he is. He has a wujud. People know what he is. If he didn't exist in any way whatsoever, nobody would even know who Sherlock Holmes is. So he exists in a way or in some way. But the inia is not there because no one can point to me, Sherlock Holmes, in real life. Maybe if someone changed his name to Sherlock Holmes and became a detective, but this Sherlock Holmes that we mean with the mahia, no, he's not there. And now let's go to God. We said that the Greeks use the un for God. Just a side note, but God's inia is absolute. So he just doesn't happen to exist. His existence is his essence. There is no separation. So his wujud is also necessary. What do we mean by this? For created things, what something is completely unrelated to the fact that it exists or doesn't exist. So I can have a mahia, but my mahia does not force me to get into existence. My mahia is not eternally powerful being. So whatever my mahia is, it does not imply that I have to exist. Clear? I'll say something else. The mahia of a sheep is an animal with 4 legs from which you can get a wool and you can get milk from it. Let's say I've made such definition. In nowhere in this description we can find a necessity that this sheep must also exist. But for God it's a little bit different. God must exist, for he is God, he is existence himself. So his mahia is his inia, and that is just the fact that he exists. Al-Farabi and Avicenna described God in most of the times just as existence, the necessary existence. That is the only attribute we can give to God truly, he says. He describes that further in his contingency argument, where he breaks down that everything is possible to exist but does not have to exist for the world to happen. But there is something where this cycle of possible existence must end, and that is when the necessary existence comes into the picture, and that is God. And when his mahia is just the necessary existence. But Inniya talks about if something exists or not. But his mahia already says he must exist. So his Inniya and mahia are exactly the same. Okay. Why is this Inniya then important in philosophy? It allows us to distinguish between essential definitions, what something would be, and the actual existence, what really is. This distinction came critical in the Arabic Islamic metaphysics of Farabi and Ibn Sina, and in scholastic philosophy of Thomas Aquinas, which the scholastic philosophy is the philosophy of the Middle Ages in Europe, late Middle Ages. So, in summary, the Nia is the reality or affirmed being of a thing. It is deeper than essence. It is the thing's realization in being. It is what distinguishes a concept from an existent. For philosophers like Al-Farabi, to speak of Inniya is to speak of the metaphysical truth of something's being. And what does Farabi, and I also want to go to the point of, because I said, like, the golden ring, from which we described its mahia, we could say it has a wujud, but in order to fall into the Inniya, it needs to be the perfect being, a wujudul kamala. And what do we mean with this perfect or truly being? We say that when something exists completely, truly, in its full essence, with nothing missing from what it should be. And then we can apply an inniya to it. Let's look for an example. A broken clock against a working clock. Both exist. They all have a wujud. We would not say this clock doesn't exist. But we would apply an inniya not to the broken clock because it is incomplete. It fills its purpose. It doesn't tell the time, certainly, and the whole mahiyya of a clock is that it tells you the time. So we cannot say inna, I don't know what Arabic word for clock is, inna al-clock mawjudun, or inna al-clock huna. We cannot say certainly there is a clock here. No, there is not certainly clock. It is difficult to understand when I say certainly, but when I mean certainly of indeed or truly, I mean that it fulfills its mahiyya. So I hope I could make you understand a little bit better. Now we will go on to the next concept. Is that it's on the point of language, because this book is called the kitaab al-huroof, so it would not do any right that he does not talk about languages. And he gave us an example that the inna also existed in the Farsiya, Lisanat al-Farsiya, and in the Lisanat al-Yunaniya. in the Greek language. Here it is, in the Greek language. El-Yunaniya. What? Yeah, it's not a big point actually. It's just he makes a cross-linguistic comparison, and it also affirms that there is a certain drive in human beings to find a metaphysical truth, because he says, like, look, it's not just a few people who philosophize and apply these metaphysical labels to things. No, it's worldwide happening, and it's like a universalist point of that philosophy is correct, that philosophy should be followed, etc. Just like that. It's not a big point, but I don't know if I could have explained well also. So yeah, I'll keep it with this chapter. We are 30 minutes ahead, I see. I will make sure that the future videos are not that long, and I will make sure that I explain it thoroughly better. If I can have a better way of explaining this, I will certainly upload another video on this topic in order to make it more clear to you. I wish you have a nice day. I wish you've enjoyed this video. If you have any tips, feedback, I would love to hear it. And make sure you subscribe, like, and share if you want to annoy a friend or a colleague with a 30-minute video of Al-Farabi's Inniya concept, from which the person most likely would not understand anything from. Wish you have a nice day. Bye bye.